Hey everyone, my name is Kasperanza, and in this video I am going to be talking about the fixed star Sirius in astrology. And I am very excited to talk about this fixed star because I think fixed stars in astrology are so important. I think they're so fascinating. I think they really give astrology so much more depth, and I think it's where the original meaning of the signs, the zodiac signs, came from, were the fixed stars. And what's really unfortunate is that there's such a lack of information on fixed stars out there. So I want to do what I can to kind of explain what I know about the fixed stars and what I've learned about it. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the fixed star Sirius. So even though there's a lack of information, there are still some good websites out there that give you very important information. So like the first one is Astrology King. And I definitely recommend reading this page to get a better idea of what Sirius is. But the fixed star Sirius is at 14 degrees of Cancer. And it also used to be at 13 degrees. So if you're looking at charts in the past in like 1950 or 1800, you should probably think of Sirius as like at more of like 13 degrees instead of 14 degrees. The fixed star Sirius is also the dog star, the greater dog, which is why I'm wearing this. I have an excuse. I also have my cute bandana, which says, "Bring me back a dog," which is the song by my favorite musician, IMX. You should check him out. But anyway, the fixed star Sirius is the brightest star in the sky. When the sun is conjunct this star, it's at like the hottest time of the year. Sirius is actually another word. It's a Greek word for scorching. So it's very hot. There's a very hot kind of nature to this fixed star. It's also double-sided. So there's like two aspects to this fixed star, giving it a kind of dualistic nature, which I will explain later in the video. People who have placements conjunct this fixed star, like all fixed stars usually, tend to be incredibly famous, wealthy, or brilliant, or popular. It's almost as if a higher force or energy is working through these people because they have a big purpose to play here on Earth. I don't know how, I just know that fixed stars are just very, very important. And in this video, I have quite a few examples where I'm going to mostly talk about the ascendant conjunct Sirius, because I think the ascendant or the midheaven really shows, I think it really shows the true nature of the fixed star. Sure, you can get it from other planets and stuff, but I'm mostly going to focus on the ascendant. So, according to Astrology King, if you have ascendant conjunct Sirius, it gives you a splendid and illustrious life, glorious, mighty, and commanding nature, fame, busy with many activities, bountiful resources, well known or feared in cities and regions, prosperity from youth and in own cities. So before I get into the examples that I have on this fixed star to really expand on it, I want to talk about like some other meanings to it. So there's this really great article written by Alice Sparkly Cat. The website is alicesparklycat.com, but I think she's a woman. She's very intelligent, and her information on Sirius, I think, is very accurate and makes a lot of sense because the examples that I'm going to talk about really play into what she's talking about. So I'm not going to read the article or anything, but basically there's a few main points that are worth noting. And it's that dogs, for some weird reason, dogs are kind of like a symbol, like the lone wolf. Like dogs are kind of represented as like outcasts, or like there's something about the dog which is kind of going on its own and being kind of outcasted. Kind of like dog days. You know how like, again, when the sun conjuncts this fixed star, it's at the hottest time of the year when it's most uncomfortable. So you could say it's like a dog. Those are dog days. She also points out that Sirius is a star that deals with memory. However, Sirius doesn't deal with real memory but fabricated memory. So that's another really important thing. She also talks about how Sirius deals with isolationism. So people who deal with exceptionalism or marginalization, so think of minorities or people who are rebels or outcasts, but also people who are very exceptional and are very hardworking. She also pointed out how Sirius, there's this sense of being out of time, or she points out towards the end, Sirius deals a lot with alienation and anachronism, which means like chronology, that, right? So if you think about the word chronos and chronology, it means time and like things in a step-by-step way. Anachronism means like things that are out of time, or things that where time isn't adding up. So these people have to deal a lot with time and memory problems and being exceptional or being outcast. So that's like really, really important to keep in mind. And the examples I'm going to talk about really play into this. So the first example that I have is this the United States. So the United States, it became a thing in 1776 on July 4th. And the sun is at 13 degrees of Cancer. So it's exactly conjunct the fixed star Sirius. And what's very interesting about the United States is that the United States, it has a short history, and it's filled with a bunch of outcasts and rebels and exceptional people when you think about it. I mean, the United States deals a lot with, well, there's this really great video that I found by this philosopher known as Wes Cecil. I don't like the video because it seems to make America into this negative thing, but what he says in this video is actually very profound, and I think is a very good explanation of what America is and American individualism, because he points out a lot of how like Americans struggle a lot with their history, or a sense of not having a past and not really having a future, right? So as what we've learned with Sirius, it's being out of time. And also on this website, Alice does talk about the United States as being out of time. And especially with the MAGA people, there's this sense of making America great again, like going back to the good old days, right? So kind of like making up the past as if the past was good. You know, Alice also talks about how like when you're marginalized, or when you're a rebel or an outcast, right, you don't have a history, right? You don't have a group of people around you. So you're kind of thrown off and you're kind of forced to do your own thing. And when you have to do that, you kind of make up your own history. You kind of make up things as you go along. You make up your own culture. And that's something that Wes Cecil pointed out in this video, where Americans don't really have much of a culture, right? We don't have past traditions like other countries have been around for centuries, for a very long time. And America hasn't been around very long. And America also has a bunch of people from all over the world with their own cultures. And a lot of the time they had to let go of their culture and their country to come to America and integrate with America. So America is like this melting pot of individualists. And this is why America is very exceptional, not only because it's a unique country. I mean, a lot of historians and a lot of people, a lot of philosophers say that America is kind of like a glitch or an experiment. America is only bordered by two countries, Canada and Mexico. It's surrounded by sea, so it's very isolated when you think about it. It's a very isolated country. It has a lot of cultures. A lot of American values are focused on materialism and acquiring value and going things on your own, right? So that rugged individualist, that person who does things his own way, right? He's not controlled by the collective. He's a rebel and an outcast. And America is filled with, I mean, it started off as a bunch of rebels and outcasts when it broke off from Great Britain. So there's this sense of just kind of being out of time, not having a past or a future, but also being very exceptional at the same time, because How do you find your identity? How do you kind of make something of yourself? By working really hard, by, right? So it's not so much about your culture, but now it's about like what you own, what you have, your skills, your abilities. And this is why people who have placements conjunct Sirius are very hardworking and powerful people, because it's very much about the person who is bullied when they're young, and then they prove everyone wrong later in life, where they suffer a lot of hardship in the beginning, and then they're really amazing afterwards. So I think if you really understand America and Americans, you understand the fixed star Sirius. So now let's get into some specific examples. And the first example I have is Elon Musk, who has his ascendant conjunct Sirius and Mercury conjunct Sirius. And I have a video on Elon Musk. You should definitely check it out. So I kind of already talked about his ascendant conjunct Sirius, but again, I think I'll kind of just say it again. Elon Musk very much embodies the American spirit. So he came from South Africa, and when he grew up, he was bullied severely. And I think in one instance, he was yelled at by his father for being bullied, right? So kind of an outcast. And then he came to America with no money, and yet he became the richest and most powerful man in the world. I mean, I would say he is. His net worth is like 400 billion, and he's kind of the real president, not Donald Trump. So this is definitely someone who goes from being, the underdog to the most powerful person ever, like proving everyone wrong. He really embodies that American spirit, that exceptionalism, and he works very, very hard. There's actually one video that I watched where he pretty much started to cry because he sacrificed so much time and effort into starting a business and getting a business off the ground. So these people are very hard workers. These people put in a lot of energy into making something of themselves, because they have to, because they don't have anything else to fall back on. And then the other thing you could say about Elon Musk with Mercury here, Mercury is the planet of commerce and business. So that makes a lot of sense, because Elon Musk's success comes from business transactions and starting businesses. The other thing about Elon Musk is that he wants to get to Mars. So again, it's more of this kind of like, forget about my culture, forget about my past. I'm going to go to Mars and just start my own thing. Like, I'm going to start my own country. I'm going to start my own culture. And I mean, it makes so much sense that someone who has their ascendant conjunct Sirius would be someone who wants to go to a planet like Mars. I mean, if you think about Mars, Mars is like a desert. It's very similar to the Wild West in the United States, where there's nothing there. It's scorching hot. There's no water. And Sirius, the fixed star, is in the middle of the summer. It's about being in the middle of the summer. And Mars is very similar to that, where it's just this desert where there's no water, or you're trying to find water. You're trying to build a life. You're trying to work very hard to build a life and to build your own history on a land that is so isolated, right? Like, I imagine people who do get to Mars, it's going to be very isolating. I'm not entirely sure a lot of people would want to go to Mars or live on Mars. Elon Musk is a perfect example of a serious person. And then the rocket ship landing. Like, he proved everyone wrong. I mean, and again, I also forgot to talk about this, but Sirius not only does it deal a lot with time and being out of time, but also physics. Like, there's a genius to this fixed star. Like, highly intelligent people who really understand physics and the nature of the world. And with Elon Musk and being able to, with SpaceX and being able to re-land the rocket ship, I mean, that's pretty amazing. That's exceptional. Whether you like him or not, he just is. I mean, he's proved so many people wrong, and I think he's going to keep proving people wrong because it's written in his natal chart. Okay, so the next person I want to talk about is Albert Einstein, who has his ascendant at 11 degrees, which means his ascendant was conjunct Sirius. And again, what is Albert Einstein known for? Not only is he this great mathematician and physicist, but he created his theory of relativity, which I don't understand it. I don't know physics. I just don't care. But it's just interesting how it deals with concepts like space-time, right? That being out of time. The sense of like serious people, because they're marginalized or they're so smart and kind of outside of the group, they're able to they understand time better because they're out of time. They're able to see things from other perspectives. Because I think with Einstein's relativity, he was able to come up with it because he started thinking of the perspective of objects that are moving really fast. Like things change from your perspective or something, right? So when you're not part of the group but you're outside, you start to see the true nature of something. Nikola Tesla. So it's interesting how Elon Musk acquired Tesla as a business, and Tesla I think was named after Nikola Tesla. And if you look at his chart, his ascendant isn't conjunct Sirius, but the ruler of his chart, which is Venus, because he has a Taurus ascendant, is conjunct Sirius because Venus is at 14 degrees of Cancer. A lot of Tesla's genius, I'm not sure really about time, but it's just really interesting how like another genius kind of physics kind of person has placements really close to this fixed star. So, and then the next person I want to talk about is Sam Vaknin. So Sam Vaknin is he's a very interesting character because, first of all, he's not nearly as popular or famous. He was famous at the very beginning of his life. So he grew up in Israel. He's an Israeli. And he achieved success and fame from a very early age. And he also has a very high IQ. His IQ is like 170 or something crazy like that. So again, so more of that geniusness from Sirius, but also this exceptionalism and being marginalized, because that fame and that success and being highly intelligent, it made him very different from the people around him. So he experienced growing up. He also suffered a lot of abuse in the household. So he really feels the sense of being marginalized and being an outcast and being a freak. He has his moon conjunct Sirius as well. So it's like a double whammy. Not only is his ascendant conjunct Sirius, but his moon is conjunct Sirius. I was so excited to discover Sam Vaknin's natal chart and to find this placement because I don't think you're going to get an any more clear example of Sirius than with Sam Vaknin. Because to have your moon and ascendant conjunct Sirius is like, because the moon moves so fast and so does the ascendant. So when they both come together on a fixed star, it really highlights and shows you what this fixed star is about. And it's even more exciting because Sam Vaknin is a very intelligent person and a great writer. So I think you can get a great sense of what Sirius is about. And I have a few articles. So like the first article is he talks about his dreams. And in one dream he talked about how he was a black kid inhabited in a tiny cubicle, crammed to the ceiling with books amongst them, prominently displayed. He asks, why black and why a child when he's a white middle-aged male? And then he talks about how blacks were discriminated against, excommunicated, and persecuted throughout history. So they're marginalized people. They're people who are treated as the other. And the reason why he dreamed about that is because he feels like a freak. He was shunned by normal people. So again, as Alice said in her article with Sirius, right? These people feel like outcasts. And it would certainly be the case with Sam Vaknin because he was highly intelligent and he also developed narcissistic personality disorder. And with narcissism, you kind of get this dualism. You get this true self and false self. And I also think it's interesting because, and it kind of plays into this binary nature of this fixed star, because this fixed star is actually two stars. It's not just one. So you get this duality, you get this true self and false self with narcissism. I can't remember where I read this, but Sam Vaknin also said that he had two sets of teeth. He had two urinary tracts and like two of something else, right? So I'm serious. Like he said that there's two people in him. Like he's kind of split. And it's also interesting because Sirius in Vedic astrology is in the sign of Gemini. So this is why fixed stars really do create like the zodiac signs. So the meaning of Gemini probably came from this two-sided nature. Gemini is also very witty and intelligent because it's an air sign. But now that it's in Cancer for Western astrology, because the signs have been shifted, Cancer also, because it's ruled by the crab, it also kind of has like this idea of wearing a shell. So like the false self is like a shell that someone wears to protect themselves because their true self is soft and squishy. Because Cancers are kind of like, there's a lot of emotional feelings with this. Like, because in Vedic astrology, Sirius is in the sign of Gemini, and you wouldn't think of Gemini as very sad, but there's a nakshatra in Vedic astrology called ardra, and ardra is represented with the tear and rain. So there's a lot of pain and emotional turmoil with this placement. Right? Again, like the dog days. But at the same time, so, I mean, you get a combination of Gemini and Cancer that I think are both correct. I feel like a lot of astrologers get hung up with like, am I a Gemini or a Cancer? Well, I think they both apply, and I think you need to realize that the fixed star has been shifting. So it was true as a Gemini in the past, but it's also true for a Cancer as well, because again, Cancer is very sad and they have to protect themselves. And I feel like the other thing with Sam Vaknin, because he's a narcissist, it's very interesting with his moon and Cancer, because the moon rules over Cancer and it's also your mother. And one of the striking things about what you learn with narcissism is that narcissists can't detach from their mother. And when you look at his chart, it's a very literal kind of like, because the ascendant represents your body and who you are, and the moon represents your mother. Well, if they're exactly conjunct, it's almost as if you can't get away from your own mother, that you are your mother, or that you keep thinking about your mother. And Cancer also has to do with the mother, right? So I think that's incredibly fascinating. I feel like to diagnose a narcissist astrologically, look at their ascendant and see if the planet rules over their ascendant and is exactly conjunct their ascendant, because that means the person can't detach. Like the ruler of their chart is not anywhere else in the chart. It's just exactly conjunct themselves. So they can't get away from themselves. They can't create a true self because they're too self-involved in a kind of narcissistic way. And maybe Cancer plays a big role in that because it has to do with the mother, as opposed to the other signs that have to deal with other archetypes. So anyway, the other thing about Cancer, this is kind of random, that's really interesting, is that I know a lot of gay people who are Cancers. Like they have planets in Cancer, and Cancer is, not only is it a very emotional sign, and gay people tend to be sensitive, or at least gay men are very sensitive. Like I have placements in Cancer. My Mars is actually conjunct Sirius, and so is my descendant. And I think that's why I'm a furry. I think that's, I don't know, I think that why I dress up as a dog. Maybe unconsciously I dress up as a dog because I feel this Sirius energy. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit far-fetched and ridiculous, but because it's funny because a lot of people who are furries because they're misfits. They're outcasts. They don't know how to connect normally with people, and so they find a way to connect by kind of, dressing up as a dog, or kind of being their own person, being kind of like that very creative, expresses themselves through an animal. So the other thing with Sam Vaknin is that he has a few poems where he talks a lot about memory, like sepia memories. Like, I don't know, like, I'm not too much interested in poetry, but Sam Vaknin has a lot of like deep poetry where you get this sense of like being out of time, or this sense of like feeling lost or melancholic, just that very like dog days serious energy, just that sense of just feeling isolated and alone, or at least that's what I get when I listen to him and read his poetry. And what's also interesting with narcissists is that they have selective memory. So this goes back to what Alice said, where people fabricate their memories, right? Fabricated memory. And if you listen to Sam Vaknin talk about narcissism and memory, narcissists are infamous for making stuff up, for fabricating memories that they actually don't remember their life. It's very interesting. I mean, he has a great video. I mean, you have this article where he talks about this, but I mean, he has a ton of videos on memory, but he also has a video on memory, how you don't really have an identity. So, right, you can feel isolated and not sure of who you are if you don't have a good memory or understanding of yourself. They have selective memory and they don't remember things. And I can't remember which video. I think it was this video that I watched where Sam Vaknin was talking about how narcissists, when they go through their life, and so when they try to remember, they don't actually remember, they make something up. So like when maybe a narcissist, what he does is he gets up, he brushes his teeth, he takes a shower, and then he eats breakfast. He doesn't remember that he did that, but he'll suddenly come to the realization that, wow, I'm eating breakfast right now and I'm clean. I probably took a shower. So he fabricates his memory. He doesn't actually remember, he makes it up. So I feel like this plays a lot into the fixed star Sirius. Apply the narcissistic memory to Sirius, and I think you'll get a good sense of what Sirius is about. And then the last thing I want to talk about is that Sam Vaknin, very similar to Albert Einstein, Sam Vaknin developed his own theory, his chronon field theory, and I just think this is so interesting, right? Because with Alice, what we learned, right, it's anachronistic, right? A sense of being out of time and alienated. And by being alienated, you're able to see time for what it is. Sam Vaknin has this very interesting theory that I try to learn about. I don't understand anything about it. I have no idea. But I think if you watch this interview, I think it can give you a good sense. But it's very interesting because in the theory, from what I remember, is that it's about chronons. And chronons are like units of time in reality. They're like atoms, but they're atoms of time, if that makes any sense. I don't know how that works, but it's just interesting how, and Sam Vaknin even says this, we are nothing but time. I feel like that is such a fixed star serious thing to say. And then to also be a genius and to develop a theory on it, very similar to other geniuses who have a good sense of physics. It's just really fascinating stuff. I have two honorable mentions, or two last people I want to talk about. Michael Jordan also has his ascendant conjunct Sirius, and right, he's the most famous basketball player that ever lived. He's very exceptional, very hardworking, and maybe being really good with the basketball is kind of being a physicist in a lot of ways, like you really understand nature or something. I don't know, that's a bit of a stretch, but and then the last thing that was really interesting is that my roommate has his sun conjunct Sirius, and when I heard about his past, it's very sad and depressing. It's very similar to Sam Vaknin's past. You definitely get this sense of being isolated, being alone, not fitting in. He's also gay as well. So, again, being marginalized, going through the dog days. And I think it's interesting because my roommate looks so similar to Sam Vaknin and Robin Williams. So Robin Williams is a Cancer, and so is Sam Vaknin. And it's kind of interesting because with some Cancers, you kind of get them like there's like squinting out of their eyes. Like you get this kind of like, I don't know, like they're squinting. And with Robin Williams, you kind of get that same thing. Like it looks like he's squinting out of his eyes. Like maybe because like the fixed star Sirius is so bright that you need to squint in order to see it, or it's so scorching that you need to kind of like protect yourself. So it's just interesting how my roommate looks so similar to them. Yeah, so that's it with the fixed star Sirius. Very exciting fixed star, very cool fixed star. I'll see you later. So I forgot to mention this, but it's very important, and it's that next year in August, Venus and Jupiter are going to come together and make a conjunction exactly on the fixed star Sirius. So I think this is a big deal. And when I say exact, I mean exact. This isn't like, so we're at August 7th. As we go through the days, look at how they both line up at 14 degrees of Cancer. Sirius is at 14 degrees of Cancer. So like they're exactly coming together. It's astronomical. It's amazing. And it's especially amazing because Venus and Jupiter are both the benefic planets. Jupiter expands, gives luck, gives opportunity, and Venus is wealth and luxury and relationships and enjoying life. So when you combine these, you're going to get an explosion, an overindulgence, and it's especially true because it's on the fixed star Sirius, which is, it's one of the most powerful fixed stars. So, there's a lot that could happen next year. So much could happen. I'm not exactly sure what is going to happen because there's not a lot of information on fixed stars, except what I already said in this video. Something related to exceptionalism, something exceptional could happen. Maybe some kind of isolationism, some kind of break from the world. When I was listening to Joni Petrie, I think I remember her saying that when Venus and Jupiter come together, it's a declaration of war. So it's not actually a good thing. It's kind of a bad thing because Venus and Jupiter are fighting over each other. So the good fortune doesn't really come in because they're both competing with each other. So it could be something like that. So it could mean a declaration of war. I think it certainly will involve Elon Musk in some way because Elon Musk has very close placements on Sirius as well. So Elon Musk could discover a breakthrough. He could do something exceptional. He might actually get to Mars in some way or find a way to make it a real possibility. I don't know. Something with Elon Musk is definitely going to happen, especially because I think people say he's like the shadow president. Donald Trump isn't the real president. Elon Musk is. So Elon Musk could take control or something like that. Something out of time, maybe a scientific breakthrough could happen because I feel like Sirius has a lot to do with science and time and physics. So maybe some kind of physics breakthrough could happen. Maybe a country gets attacked or isolated. Maybe I've heard like the United States was going to annex Canada. I think that's kind of a joke, but maybe that can happen because Sirius has a lot to do with isolation. Maybe countries get split apart. So I don't know. I just think something serious is going to happen in August, especially towards in kind of like the second to third. Well, yeah, the second and third week of August, I think will be very important, and you can see this because Sirius is going to be activated by Venus and Jupiter, and that's it.